From the Gert Boyle studio at OPB, this is Think Out Loud. I'm Dave Miller. We turn now to the Bench Fire just west of Madras. It's burned more than 40,000 acres and is still 0% contained. It's led to level 3 go now evacuation orders for hundreds of people on the Warm Springs Reservation. More than 1,000 others are under lower evacuation levels. Tribal officials have now issued a water conservation order and a boil water advisory while announcing the closure of government offices today. Edward Henderson is the Secretary-Treasurer CEO of the Confederated Tribes of the Warm Springs Indian Reservation. He joins us now. Thanks very much for making time for us.
Oh, thank you for having me. I look forward to having this dialogue.
What's the latest that you've heard about the status of the Bench Fire?
So as of right now, last night we had a 1800 or 6 p.m. meeting. They're transferring the fire management piece of it from a smaller crew of 30 to a larger management crew of 90 personnel. So with expanded capabilities, operational capabilities, and other things that go along with that. So currently we are in the middle of transitioning that. With the combining of the Bench Fire and the Beachcomb Fire, now they call it just the Bench Fire. Its current acreage right now is at 45,119 acres. That being said, I wanted to quickly catch up on the evac. I know you said hundreds, but right now we're counting at 3,845 evacuated, 6,144 in shelter in place, and 40 in temporary shelters. I just want to make sure those numbers are out there.
Yeah.
It is kind of a larger than what people would think.
So how much of the reservation is under level 3 go now orders?
So we have 3 primary areas of residence. We have the north end, the middle agency, and then the south end, Sissequa. The latter two, Sissequa and agency, are both completely under level 3.
Over the weekend, OPB heard from one couple who said they couldn't evacuate. They got level 3 go now orders, but the road that they would have taken was closed going in both directions, so they had no choice but to hunker down. They were okay. But what are the challenges when so many people had to leave at the same time?
Oh, yeah, that was a very eye-awakening experience. And even the firefighters that are here, the fire management people that are here are out of Arizona. And even in their updates, they were really amazed on the winds and the change. The fire would go one way, and all of a sudden, within a matter of 15, 20 minutes, the breeze would change and shift, and the fire would take a 90-degree and move quickly. It stops slowly. So the fire's behavior has been erratic all over the place, to the point that seasoned firefighters were like, "This is really unprecedented on how this fire is acting." So when we did the evacuation notice, we thought, well, they can roll out on Highway 26, get to Madras. But within the time that was called to the time that people started moving, you're talking within the 30-minute span, the fire already jumped across the river and threatened the major highway, which obviously made ODOT close that road. So then I have people trapped on the road. Got to bring them back. Shelter-in-place orders have to happen. It was very demanding because we don't not have a very large structural, fire capability, and so that was a nail-biting time, I would say.
Where have the people who have evacuated, where have they gone?
So a lot of them now is shelter in place, obviously. 6,144 is a pretty large number. The ones on the outer rim of the community, those are coming into we have a shelter here on the reservation itself on the agency area. It's what they locally call it the old grade school cafeteria. So we have cots available there. They have a dining facility in there. And then across the way is the old gymnasium that has been remodeled since, and they use that also as a sleeping area. So, and then if you're an older person, we still have the High Luke Lodge, which is an adult facility. And then also we have the local churches and stuff. They also have residents that they take in. If you're a senior, you need a little more, you can't sleep in a cot. You just, your health prohibits it. So uh, definitely doors have been open all throughout to take people in.
How many buildings at this point have been damaged by the combined fire?
So, quick rundown. So the building, private residents have been threatened so far. Been 41 of them. Two commercial structures were threatened, but of those, six residents were lost, and five minor structures, like sheds and workshops, were lost.
What happens if on the reservation if a home is damaged or lost to fire? I mean, I'm wondering if that's different than on non-reservation, non-tribal land.
So, so that that question's a very tribes have a really hard time right now. I believe we're around 600 and some homes short of what we need to house everybody. So you have multi-generational people living in one home. So one structure lost, you're looking at up to three generations of family that now are displaced. So um, we just don't have we just those are very impactful when we lose homes here, um, and so the way forward is something that we've been working on, trying to work with the feds and state, and the state has actually come up with some creative ideas that we're exploring on helping us build homes, whether it's on reservation or off.
Can you tell us about the boil water and water conservation advisories that the tribal government issued yesterday?
So on the boil water notice and the actual conservation of the water, that's kind of we're trying to get ahead of it, not be reactive, but be more proactive on things. So when the community itself is threatened directly, a lot of people put out their sprinklers, and so prior to that, we had all our tanks at 100%. But people running sprinklers on every hose out there really put a drain on it. I think we're still at a reasonable amount, but we just wanted to get out there and let people know that you got to conserve the water. You got to drink it and everything. Same with the boil water notice. As you know, when there's an emergency, communication is one of those things that is precious. That's hard to keep active, factual information flowing both ways. So we wanted to get out there in front of the water, and if there was if there's a boil water notice, then they're going to get caught flat-footed by, not being able to hear that there is one. So a lot of this is all precautionary.
In other words, in case the water quality or water quality systems fail in the coming days, and communications fails at the same time, you didn't want to not be able to tell people that, so you're telling people that now?
Correct. So then there's no risk of health, which again, the protection of property and health, the people, the members is paramount for what we're trying to do here. So one more step on having safe drinking water versus not being able to get the information out if, say, communication gets cut somehow. We were having actually a lot of problems early on because, as you know, as the fire sweeps through and transmission lines have to be de-energized, we had that happen. We were without power a couple times. So when we lose power here, we don't have a lot of communication redundancies. So, the internet all goes down, a lot of things go down. And so it's by runner. Someone has to go out and tell people or go do things. And then again, you're talking a police department of, 8 personnel, and, you can only work them so long. And we've been going since last week. So the more we can get, preemptive on things, the better off we'll be on the long run.
I'm talking right now with Edward Henderson. He is the Secretary Treasurer, CEO of the Confederated Tribes of the Warm Springs Indian Reservation. We are talking about what is now called the Bench Fire just west of Madras. It's burned more than 45,000 acres. It's still 0% contained. So I mentioned the boil water and water conservation advisories, and what can you still offer? What are you still offering in terms of services as a tribal government, given the closures and given the fire?
Well, we're still offering all essential services. Some things may take a little longer. I know that since we don't have any health care facility is closed down because of the level 3, can't bring people into an area that's that dangerous. We've been having to take them all the way to Madras now via ambulance, and that's if we have an emergency. So a lot of things are still here. Things just take a little longer. So, um, yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
What are you and other tribal government officials focusing on in the coming days?
So coordinating, a lot of coordinating. We still have fires, an active fire, zero containment, and currently the weather has somewhat been going our way, but that can change very quickly because we still have a lot of fuel out there, and once we get the people taken care of, then we have to look at the government itself and the tribe itself. The dams, the tribe owners of the dams, that's revenue generation. There still could be some threat with that. The fire's still expanding to the west. Obviously, we're a timber producing reservation. That's a resource that, if it was to be all burned up and gone, then that would take a real big dent out of the tribal government um, revenue. Because again, we're not a tax-based government. Everything here is owned cooperatively throughout, the tribe itself, the membership. So again, we'll be once we take care of our people, we'll be looking towards those things and trying to preserve, because then again, also you have a lot of traditional foods out there. You hate to see those all burned up, and there's a lot of things that we have to still have a discussion about.
What do you think an emergency like this illustrates about what's unique about the Warm Springs tribal community?
Oh, I've been here a year now. Retired from the military, 37 years, and I was fortunate enough for them to say, "Hey, come back to work." And governance is what I did for the DoD for those 30 some years. And one of the things I noticed early on, when unfortunately this fire started up in the Sequoia area, is the membership just seemed to know, for the lack of information, they kind of know what the next steps are, even though I've seen it on the outside in different places where the general population, general pandemonium and panic sets in, and it's people take a herd mentality. Versus up in Sisika when they had the fire, and from the lack of information, they all went to the fire hall, which is kind of where they generally go to for most things. And so when we were having a communication breakup initially, and we wanted them down here, it was the easier fix to go up there with the police, let them know the evac site's here, and then in an orderly fashion they drove down and was able to get them the help they needed. So the only other addition is, as you said earlier, what's later, what's the next? One of the things that we're working on, and as we learn things, is the media, and then how, like a GoFundMe account, a Zephy, Clover, how people can help with donations. So we're currently setting up donation links, and we're going to get that information out on how to help immediately, with what, clothing and immediate donations. And then even long-term donations, because we still have to rebuild these houses. People lost everything. The long-term things that to get people on their feet. So we will get those shared links up, and then how people can help tribal membership.
Edward Henderson, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Edward Henderson is the Secretary Treasurer CEO of the Confederated Tribes of the Warm Springs Indian Reservation. Finally, today, our producer, Malia Fast, joins me in the studio to read some of your recent feedback. Hey there.
Hey, Dave. Last week, we talked about a state-run program in Washington that helps people afford long-term care. We asked people on Facebook how the expenses of long-term care had affected them or a loved one.
China Wolf wrote, hospice for a family member was denied 3 times. Dementia is a condition, not an injury, so no coverage. Constant care, 7 days a week, unpaid, 16 years, broke me down.
Sue Flory said, my sister applied twice for SSI and was denied. She had metastasized esophageal cancer, which had spread to her bones, lungs, and other organs. She was single, self-employed, and worked longer than she should have. She passed away at 63 years old with not much left.
Barbara Buck wrote, "My parents had long-term care insurance, but they kept refusing them care until my mom went into hospice. Even then, they took 90 days and didn't start payments until after she died. They gave us $150. We spent over $100,000 on caregivers, along with tens of thousands, taking turns flying out to where they lived. All through this, my father has severe dementia, and they kept denying him coverage as well."
We also talked about a federal proposal to allow more livestock grazing on public land. We asked what you thought of the proposal. Tina Durant Bradfield said, "Good. Less vegetation, less fires. Grazing can be used to help control wildfires."
Kit Johnson wrote, "Cattle and sheep do not belong on public lands. Livestock grazing damages native ecosystems by overgrazing vegetation, trampling grasses and shrubs, compacting soils, and contributing to erosion along streams and waterways. To protect livestock, native wildlife is often removed or killed despite these species being integral to healthy ecosystems and naturally belonging on these landscapes."
Richard Byland said people are quick to say it devastates the ecosystem, but forget about how much of the native flora has been overrun with invasive species that the native browsers can't eat. It could really be an invaluable tool to restore a lot of land. I'm thinking primarily about the desert region of Southeast Oregon. Mary Powell wrote, "The range needs to recover natural vegetation and be shared by wild animals. Cattle should only be run when they do not impact the environment."
Finally, just yesterday, we talked with Portlander Aaliyah Tan. She recently won her division at the 2026 National Yo-Yo Contest. Now she's heading to the World Championships in Japan.
We got this voicemail from, ready for this, a fellow Oregon yo-yo champion.
My name is Tommy Moore. I was the 1951 Duncan Yo-Yo champion, Baker City, Oregon. I won an all-expense-paid trip to Klamath Falls for the state championship. It was the longest car trip I ever took in my life. I got there. I was one of 3 10-year-olds competing against 14 and 15-year-olds. I came in 4th place, won a Swin Black Phantom bicycle, put it on top of the Studebaker car and drove it all the way back to Baker City. And in the meantime, I have gone to the national championship several times. It was a wonderful story. I saw her perform on the internet, and what a great yo-yo artist she is. She will win.
We always appreciate your comments and your suggestions. You can leave them on our Facebook page. We are at OPBTOL.
You can also send us an email at thinkoutloud@opb.org, or you can leave us a voicemail at 503-293-1983.
Thanks, Malia.
You're so welcome.
If you don't want to miss any of our shows, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. Our nightly rebroadcast is at 8 p.m. Thanks so much for tuning in to Think Out Loud on OPB and KLCC. I'm Dave Miller. We'll be back tomorrow.
Think Out Loud is supported by Steve and Jan Oliva, the Rose E. Tucker Charitable Trust, Ray and Marilyn Johnson, the Susan Hammer Fund of Oregon Community Foundation, and the Lang Svengard Family Fund.